All right, let me ask you, do you have any food allergies in your family? No joke here. I want to ask you how much of a hassle it is when you go out, because I got a story here about a family that had a bit of a problem involving their child that has a peanut allergy. And went to Panera Bread, not the one here in Bismarck. I want to emphasize that. They went to Panera Bread in their hometown in New England. And long story short, they got a grilled cheese, and there was peanut butter in the grilled cheese. The child had a reaction. So, and there's so many ways you can go with this. But for now, let's go with this. Do you know somebody? Do you have somebody in your family maybe who has this issue, this kind of peanut or whatever, this kind of food allergy? I know there are people allergic to chocolate. I guess theoretically you can be allergic to anything. That's my understanding. But if you've got somebody in your family like that, let me ask you, here's a chance for you to give voice to your frustrations, if you have them, about how you deal with this kind of thing when you're dining out. All right, let me give you the number here. SuperTalk 1270, 701 is the area code. And I mentioned that because I know a lot of folks listen on the stream now. We got the stream going at supertalk1270.com. 701-663-1270. 701 is the area code. 663-1270. Of course, if you're in the Bismarck, Mandan area locally, you can just dial right in. But I welcome you, and I thank you for tuning in. My name is Jim Walsh. Some of you guys may know me from, if you live in town here in Bismarck, Mandan, you may know me. I used to work down the hall here at our sister station, Cool 98.7. Actually, I still do a weekend shift or two on the big Cool one, where we play those classic hits, Elton John, Billy Joel, and the Beatles and the Stones and all that. And I still do that a little bit, but they moved me over here. I guess they thought somehow they'd be playing to my strengths as a former talk show host. And I'm back again, and we'll see how it goes. And we'll have a little fun here in the meantime. One thing I can promise you, we're not going to get hard and heavy into politics here. Now, we just had 2 hours of Joel Heitkamp, and Joel's a good guy, and Joel does a great job of dealing with the political issues in North Dakota. I'm going to defer to him on pretty much all of that. That is his area of expertise. Mine, not so much. I do have some political opinions, but I try to shy away from that when I'm doing my thing, for the simple reason that every damn show on the planet, it seems, every talk host on the planet seems to want to talk about the heavy political stuff, generally from a conservative viewpoint. So I thought we'd kind of get away from that on this show. You know, the other people, they zig, so I figured the thing to do here is zag. Are you with me? Okay. So if you're tuning in to hear me go Benghazi, Benghazi, Benghazi for an hour, or talk about Trump or Hillary, that's not my thing. That's not my rodeo, not my zoo, not my circus, not my monkey, whatever. Anyway, I do invite you to call in, though, on we got a couple of things I do want to talk about. You know, I try to get into these issues that are at eye level, you know, the kind of things that real people deal with on a daily basis in their own regular humdrum routine of life. And one of those things is there are a lot of families where they have children or even adults in the family who have these so-called food allergies. And, of course, there's a lot of ways we could go with this, but the thing I'm asking for now is if you have someone in your family with a food allergy, be it a peanut allergy, I've heard of people having a chocolate allergy, I know someone with a banana allergy. This guy is a member of my family. He cannot have bananas on the table if he's having dinner. And if somebody at the table orders bananas Foster or whatever, he'll have issues with that. Physical issues. So, yeah, and we could get into the whole thing about, well, these people getting allergies. Well, I don't know. But the thing is, there are some people who are legitimately allergic, who have a real issue with this. And I've got this story, which I'm going to dig into in some depth here. The bottom line is this. If you know somebody with a food allergy, the kind we're talking about, I would like to hear from you. I invite you to tell me about any kind of hassles you have had, any kind of issues you have had when dining out with this person. Because the bottom line is, we got a story here, a family suing their local Panera Bread. And again, I emphasize, we're not talking about the new one in town here in Bismarck. This is a Panera Bread franchise in New England. And I bring it up because obviously it could happen here, not just at Panera Bread. It could happen at a lot of places. But the family is suing Panera Bread. They ordered grilled cheese for their child. The child has a peanut allergy. And apparently they said on the order, they made a point on the order saying, no peanuts anywhere near this. No peanut butter, no peanut nothing. Just keep it away. And this is not even a case of somebody working in a kitchen where there were peanuts present in the room. That's an issue for some people. That wasn't even the case here. The guy who got the order, the cook, somehow managed to misinterpret the no peanuts order, and he put peanut butter on the grilled cheese sandwich. Well, who the hell puts peanut butter on? Unless you're Elvis, I can't imagine anybody having a taste for the peanut butter grilled cheese sandwich. But the store allegedly said that someone at the store with limited English understanding may have misunderstood the instructions to make sure no peanuts were involved. Again, now this has happened to all of us, I think, once or twice. You go and you're going to say, give me a hamburger with no onions. Hold the onions. And you make a point. You say, look, I don't like onions. Don't put any onions in it. What do they put onions on it? Because psychologically, all they hear is onions, onions, onions. Okay, I guess he wants onions. All right, and give the order. Hey, here's the order. No onions. Oh, okay. Oh, onions. Okay, boom, there you go. Well, if you've got a food allergy, obviously the stakes go up a little bit there. As it did with this child, and I'm not making a joke about this. This child, they had to take the poor kid into ER, and they had to admit him. He had to stay there for a couple of days because of the whole anaphylactic shock thing. So let me ask you, if you've dealt with this in your own life, in your own situation, I want to hear about it. I would like very much to hear your story. I am willing to hear your story, and, by being on the radio, you can share your story with the world, maybe stop this kind of thing from happening. Number here is 663-1270. If you're in Bismarck, Mandan, 663-1270. Now, from anywhere else in the known universe, it's the same number, but with the area code 701. 701-663-1270. I would love very much to get your input on the subject at hand. We'll get to that in just a bit here. Jim Walsh talking with you, and especially you, at SuperTalk 1270. Be right back.
Right Now 64.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on SuperTalk 1270.
A little Clockwork Orange music to get back into the fray here. Jim Walsh at SuperTalk 1270. A family suing Panera Bread in New England. They ordered a grilled cheese. They said no peanut stuff. Well, the guy put peanut butter on the grilled cheese. Yeah, and the kid. No joke here. The kid had a serious reaction. It got a little touch and go for a while there. The kid's okay. They went to the hospital, got the treatment and everything. The family also, it's one of those families where they take all the right precautions, But the thing is, the child got exposed to the peanuts anyway, despite all their efforts. Somehow the guy misinterpreted the message. My question to you, if you have somebody in your family like this, I would like to hear from you. Tell me about it. Tell me maybe you've got a horror story. And I don't say this to make light of it. I'm saying is, think of it like a public service. Really, if you got a story to tell about this, tell us on the air. Go ahead and name names. If you're at a specific restaurant and you had an issue with this, tell us about it. Tell me about it. And we can share it with the world, maybe educate folks a little bit, help you out here. Number is 701-663-1270. My name is Jim Walsh, and the name of the radio station here is SuperTalk 1270. Shamelessly pandering to the fears and prejudices of Bubis Americanus. That's not what I do here, all right? And we're not going to do that. We're not going to give you all the Fox talking points. We're not going to sit here and go Benghazi, Benghazi, Benghazi for an hour. We're not going to interview Ann Coulter or any of those people. No, we're going to talk about real-life issues right here in good old Bismarck and wherever you happen to live as well. Because there's probably a lot of similar situations there. Anyway, so you got a food allergy, you got a child with a food allergy, call me and tell me about if you've had any issues with this. 701-663-1270. Now, here's the deal. Let me give you the story behind the story here. This family from Massachusetts is suing their local Panera Bread franchise because they ordered grilled cheese for their peanut allergic child. Somebody there allegedly put peanut butter, big old gob of PB, in the grilled cheese. I kid you not. And the kid ate the peanut butter that was in the grilled cheese. He had a reaction, had to go to the hospital. They actually admitted the child for like a day and a half, and finally did get to go home. He was all right. And he broke out in hot. It was nasty. Anyway, the story allegedly said they called the main office, the home office, and the guy on the phone talked like they said he talked like he had no idea what they were talking about. Well, it was like the morning it happened, and they called they probably should have given him a day or two. Well, actually, the guy on the other end of it should have said, well, talk to the lawyers. That's what the lawyers are there for. I'm going to push you through to the legal department, and they can handle your questions, okay? That's the smart way of handling anything like that, Let the people with the proper training for this kind of thing do their jobs, all right? And that kind of goes with the kitchen. Obviously, somebody in that kitchen had missed the boat somewhere. I can kind of understand how it would happen. Because you ever go into a place and you kind of fixate on one thing and you say, it's like the old joke about telling the catcher telling the pitcher, now this next guy, whatever you do, don't throw him a fastball to the lower left. No fastball, and all this guy thinks is fastball, lower left. Boom, he throws a fastball to the lower left, the guy hits a home run off him and wins the game. Yeah, it's that kind of weird psychological stuff. But the point is, somebody really missed the boat here. There's a serious miscommunication, and in this case, the results were pretty serious. It was not a case of somebody just biting into a sandwich and going, ooh, here, take this back and fix it. No, this was a case of a child with a life-threatening allergy. And a couple other questions come to mind here. There's the whole question of should there be a minimum level of English comprehension, maybe, for the job to cook. Who in any language, who in any culture would think somebody would want peanut butter in a grilled cheese sandwich? I mean, seriously, unless they're so new to the country, they're thinking peanut butter, grilled cheese. Must be some weird American thing. Yeah, maybe they want to be like that Elvis guy, okay, maybe they're thinking that. I don't know. But somebody should have caught this somewhere along the chain of command. But seriously, if somebody gave you an order and said, we want a grilled cheese sandwich and put some peanut butter on it, wouldn't that kind of tip you that something was a little off there, just a little bit askew? Just saying. Or maybe that's just me. In a case reflecting the growing tensions around food allergies, the family of a 6-year-old girl with a serious peanut allergy filed suit last week in Middlesex Superior Court against Panera And a group of Panera franchises, again, not here. We're not talking about the local one here in Bismarck. We're talking about New England. But obviously, it could happen anywhere, not just Panera. And the suit alleges negligence stemming from the incident. Grilled cheese the girl ordered came with a big dollop of peanut butter inside, leading to hospitalization. Let me see. The daughter diagnosed vigilant about explaining. The parents say they were vigilant about explaining her condition at the restaurants that they've been to. They never leave the house without an EpiPen for just this type of emergency. It sounds like the parents were pretty conscientious here. Or at least they're saying they are now. But what made the incident so shocking to them, they say, was the court complaint charges that the restaurant engaged in unfair and deceptive business practices by adding peanut butter to the plaintiff's grilled cheese sandwich, knowing that she has a life-threatening peanut allergy. Well, that's what the legal thing says. The father says he had arrived home from his job on a winter's night, happened back in January, and they realized that the sandwich their daughter, who was 5 years old at the time, had bitten into contained peanut butter. They called a pediatrician. They gave the girl Benadryl. It didn't help. She got sick. They wound up in ER. They wound up admitting her. Now, this is scary stuff if you're a parent. If you have a child who is susceptible at all to this kind of thing, how do you deal with that? How much of a hassle? Has this ever happened where you accidentally got exposed to something? Nowadays, people will sue you if again, a life-threatening situation here. I don't really have a problem with them suing these people. You got to hit them in the pocketbook sometimes to get the message across. But I would very much like to, if you're somebody who has been in this situation or you know of a story. I'll tell you, I have a friend, a fellow I used to work with when I lived and worked in West Virginia. I had an acquaintance there. Hell of a nice guy. His name was Alan. Alan worked for Union Carbide, the big, battery company. They're based in Charleston, West Virginia. He had a job there, but Alan was a type 1 diabetic, meaning, he had to do the insulin shots, the whole 9 yards, and he had to be real careful about consuming carbs and sugar. And he said one day he went into a TCBY, again in West Virginia, not the one here, but he went into a TCBY, and quite by accident, they gave him, he asked for the diet flavor of an ice cream cone, and quite by accident, they gave him the regular sugary flavored flavor of that ice cream. And as he told me, for a guy like me, I could have serious problems here. We're talking about a potential life-threatening situation. Somebody going into insulin shock or whatever. And he raised a whole lot of hell about it. He said, I don't want a lot of money. I just want them to, be extra diligent about this stuff. And he also, had them put out brochures, about the dangers of, messing around with diabetes, that kind of thing. So it does happen. It may happen more often than you think. That's what I'm saying. I've heard a lot of anecdotal evidence, if you will, that this kind of thing does happen. And every once in a while, it gets really serious, and you get in a life-threatening situation. And how do you deal with something like that? What do you do to prevent it? I would like very much to hear from you about this if you've dealt with this with your family. And the number here, 701-663-1270. Pretty please with no sugar on top. I'd like to hear about it here. Super Talk 1270. My name is Jim Walsh. We'll be right back.
Right now, 64.
Dave Ramsey is heard here. Super Talk 1270.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom,
That's the Beatles, of course, back when Shemp was filling in for Ringo. Super Talk 1270, Jim Walsh and you. Now, let's talk about the airlines. Is it just me, or does the airline service in this part of the country really suck? I mean, come on. And it's not getting any better. Let's talk about this here. Number 663-1270, 663-1270. Have you heard about what American Airlines is doing? If you're at all into the frequent flyer thing, you got to hear this. You may already know. But American Airlines is now joining a lot of the other major airlines in changing their frequent flyer policy. They're going to be using dollars instead of miles to determine your frequent flyer status. Like I say, a lot of the other airlines are already doing this. If the one you use on a regular basis is not doing it yet, they probably will be really soon. Frequent flyer totals now determined by the dollars you spend instead of by the miles you travel. Well, you know who this is good for. It's good for the people who fly first class on the company dollar. Unfortunately, if you fly a lot, but you have to economize because you're not made of money, in other words, you're like me, this sucks. But isn't that the way it works? The free stuff goes to the people who can afford to pay the full freight. Now, they care about the guy who never has to see the bill. They don't care about me. I'm not a big fan of flying. It's just something I'd rather not do. And this to me is just one other reason not to like the whole flying. I'm not afraid of flying. I just don't like it. It's a pain in the neck. If I could, if I had to travel out of the area, and I about once or twice a year, I've got to do some traveling, or business or family or whatever. And in my case, if I can get there by train, well, I kind of have mixed feelings. I mean, I love the train experience, but the problem here is that it's such in Bismarck, you got to drive 2 hours to get to the train. You know, especially if you're not going that far. If you're going to, say, Minneapolis, it's a hassle flying there, but it's just as much of a hassle getting there by train or any other way. But the thing is, if I have to go to Minneapolis, if I have a choice, I'll drive. Because even though you would think the flying would be preferable, but think about it. By the time you get to the airport, you check in, and you jump through all the hoops with the TSA, and you get on the airplane, and the airplane takes off, and the airplane comes down, and you get off the airplane, and you get your baggage, and then you do your business, and then you repeat the whole thing coming. By the time you do all that, your whole day is shot anyway. Just drive it a few hours. You're probably not going to save any real time. Yeah, unless you're traveling way across the country. And as it turns out now, if you're doing that, you can't even take advantage of your frequent flyer status anymore unless you're forking over a ton of money in the process. Unless you're flying first class, which means you're probably flying on the company dime. Just yet another of several reasons why I do not like to fly. I will say this. Bismarck Mandan has one big thing going for it, and that is flying out of Bisman, I don't have to fly Southwest. Oh, God, I hate Southwest Airlines. Oh, God, I hate Southwest Airlines so much. It's like a big, crowded, stuffy flying bus. And I really could do without the night at the Improv crap on the part of the staff. Every time you fly Southwest, you've got these, it's some kind of weird policy where they want to make flying a fun experience. So the stewardess or the flight attendants, they get up and they tell their little jokes and they sing their little songs and they hobble around and they have a lot of fun with the audience and the people in the airplane. And isn't it? Oh, God. And I'm just sitting here just praying the plane will crash and put me out of my misery. Oh, God, I hate that. And I know people who love that. I don't know. I guess it says something about your personality. But I will walk to California before I'll fly Southwest Airlines again. If I got to go anywhere. Maybe it's just me. So, how are you? Are you generally satisfied with the flying experience? If you have to fly out of town. Number here is 663-1270. Oh, coming up here, 701-663-1270. Coming up, a couple of things here. Speaking of bad travel experiences, we can even tie this in. Have you ever been on one of those cruises? And I mention this because I saw a story this week about a sex cruise. Yeah. The deal, the Minnesota Vikings are not. You make whatever joke you want, but no, what it is one of these cruise companies is offering what they call a sex cruise, where they'll have a lot of seminars and a lot of discussions on sex. And sex therapy on the cruise and all this. Aren't cruises skanky enough? That's something else I'll never do. Never do is, not just a sex cruise. Any kind of cruises are terrible. Have you ever talked to somebody who went on a cruise and had a positive experience? Seriously. The last person I talked to who went on the cruise, who actually enjoyed it, was around 1985, and they got the cruise as a Christmas gift from a family member, and they went on the cruise and they went to the Bahamas, and it was great because back home it was like 20 below, your typical winter around here, but instead they were in Bahamas soaking up the sunshine, and it was really cool. And that was 30 years ago. That is literally the last time I've ever talked to somebody who had just come back from a cruise who didn't say, oh, man, it was a nightmare. It was terrible. I never want to do that again. I kept praying that we'd be hijacked by Somali pirates because how could it possibly be any worse? Well, who likes cruises? Probably the same people who enjoy flying Southwest Airlines. Yeah, if it swings for you, more power to you, I guess, but I just don't get it. 663-1270, number 701-663-1270. Oh, here we are. The sex cruises, including adult playrooms, clothing optional, pool deck included, couples only retreat, encourage mix and mingling. Well, you know what they're talking about there. Yeah, nice little euphemism, that. 8-day chartered cruise will sail in Europe. They're going to Italy and parts of Eastern Europe, Croatia and Slovenia. Now, I understand some of those areas do have nice beaches, but I'm sorry, Eastern Europe. I've never been there. I know very little about the place. I know a little about their whole political and economic thing because it used to be a communist in that part of the world. And they're still dealing with a lot of those issues, no longer being a communist state, trying to get the market economy going. But I've heard that there are some nice beaches there. Other than that, I don't know a whole lot about it. And to be honest, it's if you came to me today and says, hey, we're going to give you a trip, where do you want to go? The first place I would not say is Croatia or Italy, maybe. I mean, part of it is Italy, and that's kind of cool. But again, the whole problem is it's a cruise. You hear all these horror stories about a cruise. And then a sex cruise. Seriously. Do they change the water in the pools after the cruise? I mean, I would expect they'd have to have a complete scrub down, bow to stern, and maybe maybe a formal exorcism as well. 663-1270. Jim Walsh on SuperTalk 1270. Coming up, we're going to talk about marital horror stories. About things you see at a wedding that make you realize the wedding is not going to work out. Because after all, it is June, the month of weddings, right? Also, a little musical tribute to the great Muhammad Ali, all just minutes away. Super Talk 1270.
Right now, 68.
On Twitter, Facebook, online, and YouTube. SuperTalk1270.com.
Well, if you're going to be flying out of Bismarck anytime soon using good old American Airlines, you'll be just delighted to know that they have modified their frequent flyer policy. As is the case with a lot of airlines, they are now going to use dollars instead of miles to determine your frequent flyer status, which is great if you fly first class on the company dime, if you're flying coach like the rest of us. You know, if you don't have one of those money trees growing out in the backyard, you know, where you can go out and just, grab a whole bunch of Franklins and off you go. If you don't have one of those, in other words, if you're like most of us in the real world, it's not a great deal. Number 663-1270. 701-663-1270. Jim Walsh here on Super Talk 1270. Isn't that always the case? The free stuff, the perks, the benefits, the bells and whistles, they go to the folks who can afford to pay the full freight. Hooray for them. All right. Well, it's wedding season. It's June. And that, of course, means a lot of things. If you're not getting married, you're probably going to be invited to a wedding or two over the next couple of weeks, especially if you're of a certain age. And in a lot of cases, have you ever gone to a wedding where you just knew things were not going to work out well? My wife and I were talking about this last night. Now, we had a very low-key, low-budget wedding, partly because we didn't have a lot of money, partly because, frankly, I don't think either of us really wanted the hassle. We just wanted to get married, and we were already involved with each other. We just wanted to make it official and kind of just get on with our lives pretty quickly there. So we got married at City Hall here in Bismarck. A lady judge did it, and we did that. And then we had the reception at a great local Mexican restaurant, which is not around anymore, sad to say. Some of the older guys in Bismarck might remember Los Amigos with Celia and her husband and the whole gang, and they did a great job there. Great Mexican-American cuisine. And we had our reception at Los Amigos over there on 3rd Street, and it was great. And we're still together. My best man was a guy you may know if you lived here for about 20 years or so. Is a radio guy named The Grizz, Tim Cunningham, The Grizz. Tim was my best man. I mentioned that, just a little trivia there, a little trivia and fact from Uncle Jimmy's Almanac. But in our case, it seems to have worked out. But I came across this great article where folks were talking about, this was from Reddit apparently, things they witnessed at a wedding that convinced them that things were just not going to last. Some of these are great. You may have one of your own. I invite you to share it with the class at 663-1270. Here we go. Number one. These are people talking about weddings they went to where they knew things were not going to work out. There was this woman walking around during the reception placing bets on when they would divorce. I later found out she was the mother of the groom. Not exactly a vote of confidence. During the vows, they'd written vows for each other. And during the vows, the bride starts with, I know I can be a pretty terrible person. And I don't know why you've stuck around, but that's all going to change starting today. Sure. Number 3, she flinched when he turned to kiss her. Never a good sign. The bride had the minister put "till death or divorce do us part" into the ceremony. Oh, remember the old story about the Civil War, the slaves? You know, when the slaves, they get moved around a lot. So when the slaves this is true story. The slaves got married. They said, "till death or distance do us part," because there was always a chance that the slaves would be, one of them would be sold to somebody else. That reminds me of. Here's another one. My cousin, the bride, told us as she was going from table to table thanking the guests that she didn't think it would last. Hi, thanks for coming to my wedding. I don't think it's going to last. My sister's new husband made out with a bridesmaid on the dance floor at the reception. I guess they were kind of twerking and, bumping and grinding there. At the end, these are things that from Reddit, people have actually gone to weddings and they saw this happening, and it indicated to them that the marriage was probably not going to stick. All right. At the end of the reception, the guys are sitting at a table away from everything else, and we asked the groom why he proposed, and his answer, because she was naked. Is that your classic guy's answer? Why'd you propose? She was naked. Okay. Here's when the groom got so drunk at the reception he passed out in the honeymoon suite by himself, but not before he latched the door so it couldn't be unlocked from the outside. Yeah, you imagine the bride kicking the door and hollering at the top of her lungs to be let in at 3 a.m. Not a very encouraging sign. It doesn't bode well for the nuptials. The groom invited his female friend. She was in the early stages of pregnancy. Toward the end of the night, the bride asked aforementioned friend who the father was. Guess who? Mm-hmm. Dude said the wrong name. Dude said the wrong name at the altar. Yeah. The bride got blackout drunk and asked me to kill her husband. He was busy fighting one of his groomsmen in the other room. Yes, and tell me, at what trailer park did you spend your honeymoon? You know, your classic trailer park marriage is, where the couple, all they ever do is, they do one of two things. They both start with the letter F, and the second thing is fight. You got me? Okay. That's all they ever do is, and fight. Here's my favorite, my absolute favorite of all of these. My wife loved this one. You know the marriage is not going to work out when you see what this person saw. The groom would not stop crying. He cried through the entire ceremony and most of the reception. I think I would have too, my first marriage, if I had known. Anyway, we're going to get ready and wrap up here, closing out with a musical tribute to the late, great Muhammad Ali. Thank you, champ.
This here's the story of Cassius Clay,
For all the memories.
who changed his name to Muhammad Ali. He knows how to talk and he knows how to fight, and all the contenders were beat out of sight. Sing Muhammad, Muhammad Ali. He floats like a butterfly, stings like a bee. Muhammad, the black Superman, who calls to the other guy Ali. Catch me if you can. Now all you fight fans, you've got to agree, there ain't no flies on Muhammad Ali. He fills the arena wherever he goes, and everyone gets what they pay for. Muhammad was known to have said, you watch me shuffle and I jab off your head. other guy, I'm Ollie. Catch me if you can. He says I'm the greatest the world's ever seen, the heavyweight champion who came back again. My face is so pretty you don't see a scar, which proves I'm the king of the ring by far. Sing Muhammad, Muhammad Ali. He floats like a butterfly and stings like a bee. Muhammad, the black Superman who calls to the other guy, I'm Ollie. Catch me if you can. Sing Muhammad, Muhammad Ali. He floats like a butterfly and stings like a bee.
Farewell, champ, and thanks for the memories. Coming up on High Noon, Super Talk 1270. Brandmeier is next.
Super Talk 1270 KLXX Mandan, Bismarck. Listen anytime, anywhere, online at supertalk1270.com.